Micdup.
Highlights from Lowlifes. Highlights from Lowlifes.
Welcome
What a catchy tune.
to another episode of Highlights from Lowlifes.
Yay.
Marty is back in Reno.
Ta-da!
Congratulations. JC is joining us again tonight. And Robbie and
Cheers.
I are going to talk about a subject that is it's going to be tough for people to take sides on this one. Gambling in baseball. Hey, it's a slot machine. We are going to talk
It's
a
a
little
hot
bit
button.
about.
Yeah.
Is that what? I won again. You get so tired of winning. You really do.
We'll talk about some subjects related to gambling in baseball, and then I think what we'll do is we'll end the show by getting everybody's take on where they see this going, and what baseball should do. I think most of this discussion started because of the big shift in gambling since there was a Supreme Court ruling in 2018, which was Murphy versus the NCAA. And essentially the court overturned the federal ban on sports betting and allowed states to legalize it. What happened after that? 35 states are now allowing sports betting, including online and mobile platforms. So it's big.
Yep.
Betting is heavily advertised on the air. We can see commercials for DraftKings, FanDuel, and BetMGM virtually every day. Technology is the big driver in this.
Yep.
It used to be you have to travel places to make your bets, but because of the internet and the advent of apps on phones, you can do it from your phone, which of course makes real-time betting a big thing now. And that's one of the ones we're going to talk about is the real-time betting and the bets on virtually every moment of the game. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but baseball did take steps to do some stricter monitoring of the betting. And I was thinking, how do they do that? Well, they use data analytics to detect unusual betting patterns and try to enforce player compliance. So they are constantly looking at the betting patterns online. I'm not sure what they're doing about them, but they are watching them. So
it didn't keep Emmanuel Clase out of hot water.
And speaking of Emmanuel, why don't we start by talking about the latest scandal, which is Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz of the Cleveland Guardians were suspended from baseball because it was determined that Ortiz was purposely throwing some pitches for a ball because there were bets on the board. What will the first pitch to this batter be, a ball or a strike? Clase was instrumental in getting Ortiz involved. Clase would contact Ortiz and say, okay, you need to throw the first ball in the dirt because there's a big, heavy bet on the other side. So they were caught. They were fined. They were suspended. They may never play Major League Baseball again. They're being treated as pariahs. What they did was wrong and against the rules. But let's just talk about this Cleveland Guardians situation in Major League Baseball. Are they the only ones that should be punished? And is baseball at fault for this? So why don't we start? Robbie, why don't you start off by telling us your thoughts about what happened with Clase and Ortiz, and what do you think the resolution should be?
As I as I understand it, it was a $20,000 winning bet for what he did. This is a guy with a $15 million a year contract. Like,
Yep.
so first off, I'm baffled. But I guess we shouldn't be surprised. I think it's probably far more prevalent than we think it is. Look, I'm going to say it over and over tonight. You guys, the four of us have had the opportunity to be in a major league clubhouse. We've had the opportunity to be in the spring training clubhouse. Every single one of those clubhouses I've ever been in, on the door, the only rule from Major League Baseball posted is Rule 21, and that is the no gambling rule. And that is prevalent as you walk out of any door from the clubhouse to the field or to the parking lot. That rule is right there. So obviously, players should be conscientious of that. What are you going to do with a bunch of 25-year-old millionaires who don't know what to do with their money? So gambling is certainly an option for them. But Rule 21 is there; it's very clear. So I don't know how much more to expound on that. I think Major League Baseball does hold some culpability with their new partnerships with DraftKings. MLB Network running shows, daily shows, talking about the over/under and the plus and minus and all of that. So I don't know how baseball can justify banning these guys for life. I mean, I understand the rules there, and they can ban them for life, yet at the same time take millions and millions from DraftKings and all these other places. It's a real conundrum. I think it's a much larger problem than we realize at this point.
Yeah, I agree. We have truly opened up Pandora's box, and there's no real reason, no real way to put it back in the box, so to speak. Gambling in baseball is nothing new. I pulled out one of my references, and what part of the talk about later has got this from Saber, the baseball talked about, and one of their introductions was again, the turn of the century. People were doing what they call baseball pools. Baseball players mix freely in saloons, casinos, pool halls in every city, offering inside tips so people can make bets on games. Some ballparks, notably Fenway Park and Braves Field in Atlanta, bettors congregated in certain sections of the grandstand to conveniently make bets. And again, this was at the turn of the century. The early documentation goes back that maybe the first person to approach to throw a playoff game, a postseason game, was in 1901. So gambling has always been part of sports, like it or not. We can get into more in the Red Sox, and I think that the Black Sox, and we can get into that later if we want to. But now that, again, with the advent of the technology, it's too simple now to pull this stuff. One of the other things that came out and doing some research, it has to do with, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, FanDuel had to pay the Jacksonville Jaguars $5 million. One of their junior executives at the Jaguars used the company credit card to pilfer $22 million and put it in a FanDuel account. And FanDuel, and that this was 2015, I think it was. So this is almost 10 years later, with the litigations going back and forth at FanDuel just to get it off their books or put it behind them, is paid $5 million to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So this is nothing new. I mean, the Clase and Ortiz, and somebody just brushed on it. I think Rob did. A 25-year-old kid who's now got a lot of money in front of him. And come on, he has a lot of people in his ear influencing him. Excuse me. Making some really stupid decisions, especially if this is true about Clase. One instances they said on his indictment, they're indicted with wire fraud and a bunch of other things. In one instance, prosecutors claim Class A spoke to one of the bettors on the phone just minutes before taking the mound last April in a game against the Boston Red Sox. Minutes later, the bettor and his associates won $11,000 on a wager that Class A's would toss a certain pitch slower than 97 miles an hour. There's phone records of it. I mean, I can't, with the technology making it so easy to happen, technology now makes it that easy to get caught.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, both of those guys are out on $600,000 bond that they had to post, and trial has not been scheduled yet. The investigation is actually still continuing, and there is a wealth of information, and as Marty alluded, it's all available on cell phone data, computer data, and the sports book is going to have to give it up. But this is what you get, and as was mentioned, ironically, and in an oxymoron, FanDuel and DraftKings are co-exclusive sponsors of MLB.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean that individual teams aren't going. I know that the Diamondbacks are Caesars, and the Braves are BetMGM. The Astros, the Nationals are also BetMGM. DraftKings has the Rockies. The A's, when they move to Las Vegas, will be Circa Sports Betting.
Mm-hmm. Circa is the big one in Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's all over, and for MLB to permit this and basically invite, the fox into the hen house. I mean, into the coop. It's insane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to add, and I forgot. I was in New Orleans for a couple weeks ago, and had an opportunity to go to a bowl game. It was a minor bowl game. It was the West Kentucky Hilltoppers versus the Southern Louisiana Eagles, but it was a football game. Where was the football? Help me out, for guys. Where was the football game? It's Louisiana.
Yeah.
Where was it?
Superdome.
Right. That's part that what. But what's the full name now? Caesars Superdome.
Caesars, yeah.
Oh, is it really? Wow.
Yeah. You ever been to Superdome?
No.
It's phenomenal. It really is. So you go down and you look up, and here's the second tier, the third tier. Here's the roof, and at the apex of the roof, there's an emblem. Caesar. So they're literally playing for Caesar, because Caesar's symbolically on the top of the dome. And you got okay, all right. There, so you like I said, you can't get away from it. It's here now. The only problem is, what stopgaps or what precautions can you put in place to keep the integrity of the sport? And there you go.
And it looks like their initial reaction is to ban certain types of bets, like these real-time bets on a pitch. What's going to happen on this pitch? I think it'll help, but I don't think it solves the problem.
No.
I was looking at this, and they call them circus bets. And they started when the Bears and Patriots played in the Super Bowl in 1986. The circus bets occurred because the Bears were predicted to win the game in lopsided fashion. And so betting was off. So they created things in order to get betting back in play. Like, will William the Refrigerator Perry score a touchdown? That became one of the largest things that were bet on in that game. Nobody was too worried about what the final score of the game was or what would happen. So that type of betting back in Chicago, they said it's likely the reason that Walter Payton didn't score a touchdown in the Super Bowl, because they wanted to get William his carry to get in the end zone. So that's where this started, and I think the reaction that people have made to this, or to that baseball has made to this, is to tamp down on the real time stuff. So I guess we'll see if that works, because there's no way they're giving up gambling. One other note for you guys: they can't eliminate gambling and everything that JC just talked about with DraftKings and FanDuel. They can't eliminate it from the sport. They're too ingrained in it now.
Right.
And the four of us, love baseball in its pure form. But today's youth, they love baseball because of the betting opportunities. Not everybody, but a lot of them are interested in the sport because of that reason and that reason alone.
Wow.
Similar to baseball cards. They collect baseball cards as an investment. They don't give a crap what the stats are on the back. It's very unfortunate, but it's the way it is. All right. Hey, guys, let's move on to a different topic.
I was going to say Class A made one major mistake. He should have blamed it on his interpreter.
There you go.
I was going to say that for later, but okay.
Yeah, okay.
I'm guessing
Well
we're going to
done.
come back
Well
to
said.
that later on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Well played, Howard.
yeah. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about a famous movie, 8 Men Out, which, if for those who aren't familiar, is the story of the 1919 White Sox, or we may call them Black Sox, where members of the team, not all, but many members of the team, pivotal members on the team, got together to influence the outcome of games. They were heavily favored to win the 1919 World Series, which I believe was the best of 9 at the time.
Right.
I think they were playing the Cincinnati Redlegs, and the movie depicts several of the key players being very, very angry with ownership, basically treating them like slaves, getting paid pennies on the dollar, and watching the owner reap the benefits of everything they did. So they decided they wanted a little bit of side cash, and worked with some of the local underground bettors, and kind of threw parts of the World Series so that they could get money sent back their way. Famous players were involved: Buck Weaver, Eddie Cicotti, Shoeless Joe Jackson, and they're all depicted in the movie. It's a great, great movie. If you haven't seen it, please do. It tells a great story about why this happened and what happened to the players after it was discovered. So, Marty, why don't you start out by telling us your thoughts of the movie? Did you like it, not like it? And then what was the lessons you learned from it?
Well, the first time I saw it, I fell asleep halfway through.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, years ago, and it was a different time in my life, and I had a lot of stuff going on. But to see it again when we, especially when with this bunch, with our travels in the Hall of Fame, and you really take a much more deep dive into what happened then, and what the film got right, what it got wrong. There's no, again, we got to realize what an interesting time it was in 1919. the World War One was just ended. Nice save there, JC.
Yeah, he just
But-
flatlined for a second.
Thank you.
So like the end of in any war, people come back to try and find jobs that aren't available. Inflation with no lack of employment, and then on top of it, there was a influenza scare in that year too. So it wasn't like the Roaring Twenties or something where everything was hunky dory and everything, or everybody was just out for how much money they make. And again, I said before, baseball, the corrupt element of gambling was there. So the prime, almost the prime was set for something like this. Now again, it was some time ago, and there's no definitive record of what actually happened and what didn't happen. I've heard stories that that the players went to the gamblers rather than the gamblers approached the players. Okay, is that true or not? Certain things that seem to be rather consistent was. Seacott demanded $10,000 before that first pitch. Demanded it in cash before he even went on the mound on game one. It was, the big thing, of course, now is it was Joe Jackson involved. Some record says he did. Some records said he didn't. One of the reasons I think that the situation is that it was a horrible clubhouse. Eddie Collins was very educated in the East somewhere, a very smart man. With Ray Salk was the catcher and Seacott, and then there was a bunch of guys that were, call them country bumpkins, call them uneducated.
Shoeless Joe was one.
Shoeless Joe was one, and I'm trying to find my notes on this for a couple other guys.
Chick Gandil too, right?
Chick Gandil,
but he was streetwise.
Yeah, and there were the intellectuals were constantly berating these guys. So there wasn't, even though they may be a great team on the field, they hardly got along at all. And again, sowing the seeds that were there. One thing that I did find out, which in this book, and I'm going to hold it up again. This was Sabre people, and they go really in depth on each player, history, and all that kind of stuff. That one of the things that the movie tried to show is that Comiskey was a real miser, which he was, but the salaries were not that bad. They looked at the salaries across the league, and Chicago was number 2 in average salary. So were they getting still paid a lot? I mean, come on. $10,000, $20,000 was a huge salary back then. But I've talked too much, and I've made my say. But like I said, it was a great movie, and I do appreciate it now. It's one of the movies that come on in the movie channel. I have to stick with it for the rest of the 2 hours or whatever it takes. Yeah. There's a handful of movies that I need to do it, but that's one of them. And but again, and some of the things you look into were problems 100 years ago are still problems today.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
And they're just been exacerbated by technology. But that's I'm sorry, I spoke too much. I apologize.
No worries. JC, what do you think of the movie and the dilemma that was created in the movie?
I did enjoy the movie, but I mean, the dilemma, as Marty points out, is an ongoing problem, and Comiskey wasn't the greatest owner to deal with, and a couple of the guys had the idea that they were going to make some money. Of course, they were approached by people who were unscrupulous and were trying to take advantage all over the place. But and I don't know. I personally don't really think Shoeless Joe was involved, and if he was, he backed down from it real quick. He hit 380 or something like that in the series. Uh, he had a couple of home runs. I mean, he didn't show it on the field that he was taking a dive at all. Um, and as Marty mentioned, he's uneducated, country bumpkin. Uh, you know, I understand. I understand how he did, and I think he was unfairly treated for 100 years.
Yeah.
Of course, in May, Manfred decided if you were dead, you were pardoned in May of
Oh,
2025, and he pardoned the Black Sox, uh, and you know, Cozy Dolan with the Giants, uh, who there's no question he attempted to bribe uh, the other team to throw the game. I mean, it's pretty much cut and dried. Yet, uh, yet that was going on at that same time as uh, 1917 and 1924 when all that happened with Cozy Dolan, the coach of the New York Giants.
Yeah.
So
wow.
uh, I I believe uh, I believe that the ban was okay for some of them, but I think Shoeless Joe was a victim in my opinion.
Hmm. I
All
agree.
right.
Yeah.
Hey, Robbie, what do you think of the movie, and what do you think of the dilemma that it showed?
I'd love the movie. Obviously, we baseball guys, we love that movie. Some of the better baseball action scenes in a film. But separate from that, I know that the Studs Terkel and now I can't think of the other guy. They're very famous writers. The two sports writers in the movie played those two guys, and they did a bunch of extensive research with the film's producers, where they dug back in. I guess Chicago had 5 or 6 daily newspapers back at that time, so they dug through news reports and they used all the available facts. Now, what was a fact and what was a legend depended on the newspaper, what was reported. And that's why it's so confusing for that era. But they did dig as deep as possible. And if it was printed, they used it as a fact to build that story, so they could get it as accurate as they could possibly get without having any firsthand knowledge of the thing. So I know they did extensive research to get it right. I think that comes through in the film for the most part. And it's a strange dilemma because with Shoeless Joe and Buck Weaver, two guys that clearly did not participate in throwing any of the games, but they knew it was going on and didn't say anything to anybody about it, and that makes it such a conundrum. At what point is it, the participate knowledge of it is not necessarily illegal, not reporting it can be. It's such a weird gray area, and I think that's the real challenge with all of this stuff. I mean, again, these are young, guys under 30, all playing together, traveling together on the road. Nobody's going to snitch anybody out because of you just that no, you don't want to be the rat. But on the other hand, with stuff like that is going on, and especially nowadays with millions and millions of dollars at stake, it's that's a real challenge. And how do you address that? I mean, you can't. I don't know if you can punish somebody now for the way they did Shoeless Joe and Buck Weaver back then
Right.
for knowing and not reporting it. I don't know if you could challenge. I mean, there's got to be guys on the Indians that knew what was going on. There's got to be guys on the Dodgers that knew what was happening with Shohei, whether he was involved or not. He was.
What's that? I didn't hear that.
But I mean, there's got to be people around that knew about it, and
Yeah.
so now baseball is so careful with these investigations and not letting anything out because they would hate to tarnish the game or tarnish one of the great players of the era. Um, it's just put us in this weird, awkward position that we just we can't trust it anymore. I think it's hard to look at it and not wonder sometimes. And some of the NFL games this year have been ridiculous. A couple of the college bowl games, it's clearly something going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've let I think JC said it. You let the fox into the hen house. I mean,
Yeah.
all I
Yeah.
can picture when you brought this topic up is, or when this topic was brought up, is Wrigley Field, how they have a DraftKings sportsbook and lounge right there at the ballpark.
Mhm.
And like,
Yes. Yep.
you can't gamble, but everybody here coming in and paying all this money can gamble all they want in the sportsbook all night long. Welcome to Wrigley Field.
And
Yeah.
who monitors that?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, I don't know, but the only team I could find that doesn't have a sports book sponsor is the San Francisco Giants.
Oh wow, wow.
Yeah.
I guess our local team is above board.
Nah, something's coming out of Silicon Valley. They're just waiting for the right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the right. Yeah.
All right. Hey, we got through a couple of our topics. Let's take a break and talk about our sponsor, Robbie.
all right. Well, as always, we're sponsored by our good friends at Almanac Brewing, Alameda, California, one of America's truly great craft brewers. At this point in the show, we like to talk about the different beers that we're drinking tonight from Almanac. And will wonders never cease? I got a
Look what we
guy
found.
that got me in a 4-pack of the Rocktoberfest. I drank my last one like 3 episodes ago, and all of a sudden,
Damn it!
yeah, hell yeah. They have a lager series, and Rocktoberfest is part of that. Buenos Vibras, I think somebody else is drinking that tonight. That's in that series. They've got a new lager coming out here very shortly. So, but I love their beers. They're always really full of flavor, and yet, unless it's intended to be tough to drink, which like some of their sours and barrel aged things are, everything else is pretty easy to drink. So they've really nailed the right way to make beers. What are you guys drinking tonight?
I've got a Buenos Vibras, as you mentioned. It says bright, delicioso, and crisp.
Wow.
Wow.
You almost sound Spanish.
Bueno.
It's a great summer
Bueno.
beer, and fortunately today in greater metropolitan Elk Grove was kind of sunny and nice.
Whoa.
So the Buenos
Mhm.
Vibras is going down real nice.
A few good
Excellent.
vibes tonight.
Well, I'm grateful to be back home, just for many reasons. But one is to get back to the Almanac beers. Not to mention, I didn't appreciate the regional beers in the South. They were very good. Thank you, Rob, for your suggestion there. I'm drinking the Hugs tonight. This is the Almanac Hefeweizen. Again. I'm on my knees in front of Almanac because they blow me over because I don't like Hefeweizen. But it's got the flavor of the wheat, but without. It always seemed to Hefeweizen's not everybody else. It's almost got that chalky, almost a chalky aftertaste to it. And but anything that Almanac does is full of flavor and goes down easy and goes down crisp. The only problem with Almanac, and I'll be on this, is that let me back up by saying double secret probation. Bring it back. Bring it back.
Hey, Robbie, there's
Yes.
a
Yes.
comment.
Yeah, I saw that. Here we go.
Please, Marty, get off your knees.
Hey, we got somebody listening, actually. All right.
And this may be the last time Almanac sponsors us.
All right. Hey, I'm getting hammered tonight. I'm using the 9.0 alcohol content of Almanac's Big Love Double IPA.
Wow.
Oh.
Thank God I'm sitting down. This thing is really, really good, and you have to be careful. You can't. Robbie said I can have 3 of these. I'm not sure. I'm thinking 1.5 maybe.
I believe in you.
Wimp.
Okay, yeah. I just got to get another fork downstairs, and I can finish this one up.
Hollow leg.
For IPA fans, this is a heavier one, of course, but the taste is really good, and I don't feel too full. as I'm drinking it. So maybe I can do 3 of them. I don't know. Not a good idea, but I'm just saying it's a possibility. So this is the big brother of the Love IPA.
That's correct.
So look for this one. I got myself a 4-pack. This is awesome. All right.
All right. Well, just before we close out, a big shout out to our friends at Almanac. They had a huge article in the San Francisco Chronicle on this past weekend on Sunday, all about how the fact that they are bucking the trends in the craft beer industry and that they actually are growing. And I think all of us have tasted the beers and we understand why. And if you haven't had the opportunity yet, I highly suggest you track down some Almanac and be part of uh, really one of the great beers in the country.
Well,
You gotta
Bobby,
comment
isn't
there.
it the reason that they're growing? Isn't it because of this podcast?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've
Yeah,
turned
that's
on
okay. All right.
we've turned on well over 3 people to the brewery.
Look
And
at
2 of them are on this show.
yeah.
hey,
Yeah,
but
right.
one
We
of
go
them,
double.
just one of our compatriots just sent in a note.
I love a what you drinking call.
Teddy Bear here. What you drinking? Well, while I'm patiently waiting for Almanac to make another batch of the True Lager, I'm having, thanks to JC, he gifted me these, an Adventureland Pilsner. Wonderful
Oh,
beer,
yeah,
wonderful
yeah.
substitute. As he said, it was sunny today. This is going down nice. Thank you, Almanac, and thank you, JC.
Nice.
All right. For those of you looking for that, JC found that at Safeway, and so did I. All right. Let us get into another round.
Let me get another beer.
Okay.
Oh,
Let's talk about something that probably brings sports betting in baseball to the forefront of any conversation. Let's talk about Pete Rose. Okay. Pete Rose was Charlie Hustle, great player throughout his career, an all-star at multiple positions, first base, third base, left field, all over the diamond. Always trying to win. I don't think anybody questions his ability and his desire to win. But Pete, who later became a player manager and then a manager, he was caught gambling. Now, what does that mean? Was he gambling on baseball? Yes. Was he gambling on his team? It appears yes. Was he gambling to win? In other words, if he's managing the Reds, did he bet on the Reds to win all the time? It actually appears yes, that he was always in favor of his team winning the game. Okay. Now, some might say, oh, that's okay. Everything he was doing was in an effort to win a game. But before I pass it on to you guys, I would like to point out that baseball is a 162 game schedule. There's an expectation that even the best of teams will lose 60 to 70 games. What happens in a blowout for most teams? For most teams, in a blowout, you take out your regulars, you put in your long reliever, you put in your utility guys, and you just get through the 9 innings and hope for better the next day. Is that what Pete was doing? Or was Pete trying to win the game because he bet money on his team to win? Did he leave Tony Perez in a game too long or Barry Larkin in a game too long because he was trying to win a game that he had no chance of winning? These are all questions. And then, of course, there's the idea, did Pete ever really admit to doing what he did? Did he ever take responsibility for his actions? Did he even think what he did was wrong? These are all questions. Right. Hey, JC, want to start out and tell us your thoughts about Pete Rose and what became of him?
Yeah, Pete was the hit king. I mean, he had the most hits of anybody in Major League Baseball. Uh, did he bet on the Reds? Yes, he bet on the Reds. Did that necessarily mean that he was trying to kill the other team, or was there a point spread involved where he could affect how much he made, or whether he even won the game if he had to give runs away as a favored team? You know, there's all ways that you can affect it without losing the game. And as Rob said, maybe some of the players suffered from Pete trying to win a game that he couldn't win, uh, and they should have been sitting on the bench and resting up for the next day, but they weren't. Uh, that's that's an interesting conundrum. I don't think uh, until the very last, he did finally admit that he bet on baseball and that he bet on his team. Um, but uh, but too little, too late to satisfy Bart Giamatti, who was the one who uh, suspended him for life in '89. And then, as I mentioned earlier, apparently Rob Manfred feels if you're dead, you're pardoned. Uh, uh, I don't understand that, but I felt I felt he could have been allowed, given his play, given what he did, and given some of the people who are in the Hall of Fame, uh, who did much worse than gamble. All right, you know, there's allegations, that Ty Cobb actually killed somebody. Uh, uh, you know, uh, uh, Even Babe Ruth has some questions about
Yep.
his first wife's death. So uh, so you know, should Pete have been suspended? I believe absolutely so. Should he have been let back in while he was alive? I think he should have been. But and as soon as he admitted this, which he did a few years before he died, um, then he should have been in. That's just my thought. What do you think, Marty?
Um, good, valid points. Valid points. But let's back up for a second. I'm honestly asking you guys because you guys are not more knowledgeable than I am. Uh, for nominations into the Hall of Fame, there's the Veterans Committee, right?
Yes.
Now, is the Veterans Committee allowed to bring to the floor as a nomination anybody that played ball, or is there or is there a cutoff? You can't bring somebody that's been out of last played baseball 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Yeah, I think that you have to be on the eligible list in order to
Correct.
do
There's
and
an eligible list.
eligible list
Yes.
and Pete and Shoeless Joe were off were not on the eligible list until May, when Manfred
Okay. Okay.
pardoned all those people,
Okay.
and now they're on the eligible list. Can they get nominated by the Veterans Committee? Yes, they can.
Okay.
Will they? I don't know if they
All
will.
right. All right. Fine. Thank you, because I answered the question. Because the cute point I was going to make is now that Shoeless Joe passed away in 1951, and it's about now that 75 years ago, maybe he can at least get a nomination. Maybe that's what it takes for Pete Rose. He has to be dead 75 years before. But man. That was the silly joke. This whole thing was pretty. But
Oh, that was good.
Rose,
At least we
Rose,
kept our humor
the
up.
problem with Rose is that he had plenty of opportunities to come clean, and I think and ask for forgiveness, and and I think he could have been in the Hall of Fame if he just kind of put his ego aside and decide, you're right, this was silly of me. And again, and maybe say, I always bet on on the Reds, and show me where I didn't. And if you show me where I didn't, then fine, I'll bow out and go away and not say another word. Would if this happened today, if we wanted to take any one of the managers in baseball, and it would come out that he's been betting on his own team, would he be punished as severely today as Pete Rose was back 40 years ago?
I believe so.
You think so? Okay.
What they're doing with Clase and Ortiz is they're setting a precedent.
Okay.
They're throwing the axe down and saying, if you guys screw up, you're gone. You don't get a second chance.
Okay.
So,
All right. Again, I'm not. I really don't have any heartfelt statements pro or con about it. I just think again, in the modern day, I'm not sure if we would be quite as severe. And like I said, and we're very forgiving people. And if he would have just kind of fessed up years ago, I don't think we'd have this conversation today about him. But that's my thoughts.
Yep.
yeah.
All right, Robbie, what do you think?
Well, I think I've referenced it on the show before. There's a documentary on HBO called Charlie Hustle. And if you are at all interested in the Pete Rose topic, or just as a baseball fan, it's worth watching because the documentarian, you can tell within the first 20 minutes that he is trying to give Pete a lifeline. He is desperately trying to help Pete, and Pete cannot help himself. He refuses to admit anything, to take any responsibility. It's a really great but very tough watch because it is, as I noted, it's so clear the documentarian is doing this documentary to try to actually help Pete Rose, help make his case for the Hall of Fame, and help him get there. And at every single turn over this 3-part documentary series, Pete Rose does the opposite of helping himself. It's stunning and shocking. And when you look back at the scandal, that's exactly how he handled it during the whole time it was going on. I mean, even when they show written checks in people's hands that he actually signed, he would still deny it. So it's his is a very unique and different situation, I think, from some of these other ones that have gone on over the years. Just he probably could have separated. I mean, he did this as a manager. They never had any proof that he did it as a player. He probably did, but they had no proof of it. He could have gone in as a player without any mention of his manager if he had just stepped up and owned and taken some responsibility at all. I think he would be in as a player, and there would be no mention of him as a manager in there. But I'm seriously, if you have not seen the documentary, do the 7-day free trial if you don't have HBO, just to watch this documentary because it is amazing how this guy will shoot himself in the foot repeatedly, given a grand stage to try to protect himself. So, yeah, I have a tough time seeing him get in the Hall of Fame, especially after you watch that documentary.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Oh, wait, we got a relevant call too from Babe.
Okay.
So no baseball commissioner is going to set a precedent by usurping a decision of a former commissioner. That's why Manfred didn't do it. Hasn't done anything because of what Giamatti imposed on Rose. As far as you're banned for life, well, now you're no longer living, so are you still banned? I understand that reasoning, but I also agree with JC. He could have made...
There's a follow-up.
I don't think the baseball writers who have the majority of the votes for the Hall of Fame would allow anybody that they didn't like or agree with to enter into the Hall of Fame, whether it's gambling or any other issue. I think that's why you have some very talented people who played the game of baseball and did very well that are not in the Hall of Fame. I don't think it had anything to do with whether they admit or don't admit. I think it's
Just 30 seconds is not enough for the babe.
No.
We got to fix this. I mean, our fans on Highlights from Lowlifes, they need more than 30 seconds. So I'll talk to the folks at micdup and get this fixed.
Well, we have the most intelligent listeners of all the shows on micdup.
That's correct. We do.
Yeah. Low bar,
Without
but
question.
still.
All right, guys. We got a few minutes left here. I can't wait to hear Robbie talk about Shohei, so that's going to be fun. But I wanted to wrap things up by asking what you think if gambling is here to stay. How do you think it should work and still provide integrity to the game, something that's watchable that you feel like the players on each side are trying to win? What is the solution to the problem? And if you don't have a solution, I understand, because this is a tough problem because I think it's ingrained now. But what do you think should happen? Robbie, what do you got on this? And please tell us a little Shohei.
Yeah. I'm gonna turn it. We've got a couple of calls. You want to do these calls first? Because that might actually enhance the conversation here we're having.
Sure, that's okay.
All right. Here's from Babe.
as Robbie brought up the smoking gun of Shohei at the correct moment in kind of the right light. Although it's hard to not understand how a guy making millions of dollars and has his own interpreter placing bets doesn't know that his money is being taken away. Interesting.
Well said. And this one's from Danny.
Hi, this is Danny. Quick question. In addition to sports gambling being potentially destructive to society and causing addiction and financial harm, no doubt, do you think that this shift in micro betting, betting on every pitch, etc., kind of lowers the barrier for corruption and potentially, can destroy the integrity of a sport?
You know what? My initial reaction, that's a great question, is that like Emmanuel Classe making $15 million a year. Why in the hell would he even bother with all these little bets? Yet here he is, a young kid with millions of dollars and competitive nature. These guys all have to be very competitive coming up. I don't think you can help yourself when there's opportunities like that. That's a chance to win within the game. I mean, even in that case, he bounced a pitch. It didn't have a direct outcome on the game whatsoever. It was what, no balls, two strikes. He could bounce a pitch anyway. It was not an issue. So it definitely breaks down the barriers. And I think before the Class A thing, I would have disagreed with that. But now, I mean, young kids and money, and they're in the competition. It's a game. It's a video game for them, basically. The gambling thing. It's a video game with some money on the line. And so absolutely, it's a huge problem. It definitely breaks down the barriers.
Yeah, I agree. I think these prop bets on pitch by pitch and that sort of thing are just too tempting to do some, because they're all up there. Everybody knows about them. The player knows about it, and he can influence whether somebody wins or loses, or whether he wins or loses. And money, and it's it that those bets should be banned without question. And I think that's one of the things that MLB is trying to do, and I would love to see it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
If we haven't spoken about umpires, referees, officials yet, and that's another potential avenue. Wasn't there a case about 3 or 4 years ago with NBA officials?
Yep.
And again, somebody brought up the idea that some of those calls made in the last few weekends watching football were intriguing, and if you're going to point the finger at the ball player, you're just being naive. It's the other team, the third team on the field needs to be a take a look
Yeah,
at
don't
that too.
exclude those guys. I agree with you, Marty.
Yep. Good point.
Now, what realistically can be done? Uh, much more intense screening, investigations, and what are we going to? And look, in order to stop it, are we going to have to pass a rule that your cell phones are not your domain anymore? That they can come in and take a look, scan your phone, your internet. I mean, there's a lot of invasion going on here to justify in the investigation of these possible crimes. I,
Right.
I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying that we're really going down uh, a slippery slope here. And I tried to use the phrase a couple of times, Pandora's box, and it's true. Wow.
Yeah, but if you get everybody's cell phone, then there's always a burner phone that you can get that's prepaid that they can't. They don't have to know you have that. You
Okay.
have your regular phone, and that's it.
But
So
the investigation needs to continue, right? To rub this out of the sport. Then what other wall are we going to take down about privacy or rights or self determination? I mean, there's no easy way out of it, and there's no extremely painless way out of this. But I think this is a great topic, and I'm glad we brought it up.
Yeah. I mean, again, now you want my Shohei thing.
yes,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
adding it, and of course,
and
now
I want-
here, all right,
I
you
want
have your
Robbie
Shohei
to-
thing, and then
Okay.
all right.
I want Robbie to do the Shohei argument
Right.
because I want to provide some alternative
interpretation.
interpretations. A devil's advocate.
So
you
I
know,
will give the facts, and Rob will
But-
promote the cover up.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
If that's the way you want to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely
Anyway,
the way I want to word it.
But, I think sometimes we get caught up in how this affects our home team. And I think what we should be concentrating on is how it affects the game and its integrity at any level. I mean, we've already got all kinds of problems with dispirited payrolls and things like that. This is the last thing we need is to have gambling affected at this level. So, Robbie, tell us a little bit about your thoughts. And let's assume that the fans don't know about the details of the Shohei investigation. What happened? Who got blamed? And why were they wrong?
Yeah, easily. Shohei Ohtani was involved in a betting scandal regarding his teams that he had played on and betting on baseball. When information came out about it, it was blamed on the interpreter, and MLB conducted its own internal investigation despite calls for a third party investigation, and they determined that it was the interpreter. Everybody wiped their hands and walked away. So, my issue with this is millionaires generally don't manage their own money. And in his case, close to billionaires, they've got accountants, they've got money people, they've got personal services managers, they've got a lot of people that know what's going on within that. Basically, Otani is a brand, right? And there's a lot of people that know what's going on with the brand. I find it very hard to believe that $20 million in bets could have been taken by the interpreter without someone else within the Otani brand or organization seeing it and finding out about it at the $300,000 stage or early on. I find it very hard to believe that the interpreter had that much access to the money and nobody else saw it go anywhere. And again, the red flag to me is that MLB conducted an investigation on their own. Within a day or two, they said it's closed, and that was it. Nothing ever
Yep.
came out other than we find no wrongdoing by Shohei. Look, Shohei is the most marketable player in baseball. He is,
Absolutely. And the most popular.
yeah, the most popular, the biggest name, and he's international. He's not just a American icon. He's internationally well known. That was a lot for them to protect, and this is the effect that gambling can have on the game. That an Emmanuel Clase or even Luis Ortiz, especially, just a journeyman reliever, can get impacted because who cares, right? But if Shohei is involved, hey, we gotta protect this.
Yeah.
Oh
They're,
yeah,
they're
I mean,
protecting their
you
investment.
got you got 6 or 7 guys, all fringe major leaguers at best, like Andrew Frank and Tucapito Marcano.
Right.
Yeah.
They were fined. I mean, Marcano must have been one of the dumbest guys to ever play the game of baseball. He lost over 95% of his bets. And in its entirety, he lost maybe $10,000. He sacrificed his career for $10,000.
Yeah.
And these
Yeah.
other guys, they were losing bets of $300 or winning bets of $200. It didn't matter. They all got they all got put on suspension um, for at least a half a season for what they did. If Robbie is right, Shohei should have been suspended at least 10 times the amount of time that they were suspended, and it will never happen.
No.
Yeah.
It will never happen.
No.
And
Sad. But
Yep.
again, I can't see how that much money could have been siphoned out without anybody else in his organization knowing about it. It makes
yeah.
no sense. So,
All right. So how
okay.
do you fix this, Robbie? How do you fix all this?
Well, can't shoot him, but
Line from in harm's way.
yeah, I mean, maybe you call it the Rose Rule, and that's a lifetime ban. I mean, that should be enough. I would think that if there was a genuine investigation, I'm sure they would find something, and the lifetime ban has to go. And you need a player that you can, Pete Rose is, we're old. Pete Rose is 40 years ago, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it was a long time ago when that happened. Now, um, so they need a. I mean, fall guy is the wrong word because it shouldn't be a fall guy, but maybe you got to make an example out of somebody. And if you want to draw the line and really cut off the corruption, you stop catching the Luis Ortiz and the Tucapita Marcanos of the world, and you start catching some of these big names. Even in the NBA, it's still what Terry Porter and the coach, whatever Rozier. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Chauncey Billups.
that doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Get me a name. Get a guy that's going to be an example and like it. We're not going to tolerate this at any level. I don't care if you are a once in a lifetime type of player or if you're or a journeyman catcher just struggling to hang on. You're going down if you do it.
So guys, I get that the rules are in place and the players should pay the price. What about the other side of this? How much is Major League Baseball complicit in creating an environment which is bad for the sport?
No question. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
aligning yourself with
Yeah.
DraftKings and FanDuel and Caesar's Palace and all these other places, you're basically saying don't do it over here, but it's okay over here. We can do it, but you can't.
Yeah.
They're absolutely complicit. Their embracing of that culture is leading to the problems we're facing now.
How do we fix it?
I don't know. I don't think you can now.
No, you
It's
can't
in too
now.
deep unless you
Yeah.
you have to
I'm
clean house of
sorta in your
MLB's.
boat. I don't have an answer, but I'm worried that a big Giants Dodgers series should be about who wins the games, and now it's about who won the bets. And that's getting down to the integrity of the game, and baseball needs to distance itself from anything that implies that the only thing on the field that's important is winning the game.
Well,
We have a relevant
Me-
call too. Go ahead, you Marty. You want to go, and then we'll play the call.
well, it's like anything else. It's going to have to take a big cluster where it's somebody big time, an entire team, and somebody has to stand up, like it or not. Going back to the Black Sox scandal, Chickasaw. What was the guy? Chickasaw Mountain.
Kennesaw Mountain Land.
Kennesaw Mountain.
Judge Landis.
Okay, Judge Landis. It's going to have to be someone who's going to make a drastic statement and say we're done. If he's going to be the villain of sports, sure. Are they going to burn him in effigy? Of course. But that's what it's going to have to take to get gambling out of baseball. It's going to have to take some big scandal. I mean, huge scandal. And with efforts by the money and the lawyers to cover it all up. And it's just going to be an everlasting mess. And someone's going to have to drop the hatchet. It can't be done in I see any other way. We can't do it incrementally. It won't work.
Yeah.
We got two calls in. The first one is one way to possibly may mitigate some of the prop bets that we've been talking about, and then the second one is more relevant to what Marty was just saying.
You can't go back and clean it up now, Rob.
Vice
it's
versa.
already in place, just like TV contracts and networks and what's going to happen with this coming year in broadcasting of games and how that's going to be affected and reduced for many people because of dollars. Until we get a handle around the dollars, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
So I think he's right there. And then this
Yeah.
is the prop bet one. Sorry, I played them out of order.
An automated strike zone, which is now coming into play, should help eliminate some of this with the umpires. Maybe they put some sort of a tracker inside the baseballs, which accounts for fair or foul and home runs and such. Who knows? That could be other ways to mitigate this.
And then lastly, he's fired up tonight. This is great. His wife must not be home. This is relevant to the Shohei conversation.
So I guess $20 million and the number one superstar in all of baseball wasn't a big enough deal for a scandal.
Yeah.
Actually,
Wait.
She's giving me all these hints, guys.
We apologize, Gail. It won't happen again.
Date night at the Shanks is still on.
Babes at the casino.
So I think the $20 million was the thing that made baseball sweep it under the rug. This guy is Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, sure.
You sideline Shohei Ohtani, you're going to piss off all these kids. That's all they care about is what's Shohei going to do tonight.
So let me ask you this. If it wasn't Shohei, but it was Bryce Harper, how would you feel?
The same way.
Okay.
I mean,
Not
I'm not
me.
a huge Bryce Harper fan, but he is.
Would you have, do you think it would have been accepted so easily? Nope, he wasn't involved. It was his other guy, and that's it.
Well, I think there are factions of Major League Baseball that hate Bryce Harper's guts, so maybe that would have been pushed in a certain direction. I think maybe that's what you need. You need a guy that isn't very likable, and you go after him.
Carl's the fifth guy tonight, I think.
With Bryce Harper, you don't disenfranchise an entire country like Japan. There's big money there.
That's my point.
It is, and baseball's bent themselves over backwards, as is the NFL to expand beyond the North America. So
If it's Freddie Freeman or Mookie Betts or any Betts is in the name, I mean,
I agree, but
if
yeah.
it's one of those guys, though, I think he's right. It doesn't eliminate this international position that they're trying to take in Major League Baseball. It was too easy. I mean, it's to me, there's so many logical flaws in saying that. Oh yeah, it was the interpreter, and that's it. We're good.
Yeah, move on.
Like,
There's nothing here. Move on. Yeah.
yeah, great strategy for a defense attorney, right, JC?
Absolutely. Sweep it under the rug and bring it out.
All right, guys. This was a good conversation.
Yeah.
One that we could probably extend into another hour with a few more topics.
We probably get a
But,
lot more calls from the babe.
Yeah, I think we're 70 minutes in. I think we probably need to wrap this up. Any final comments?
You got to know
All
when to
right,
hold them.
guys.
You got to know when to fold them.
There you go. Kenny Rogers. Yeah, that's the best way to go. Yeah.
You're,
All right.
you're living in the past.
Yeah. Okay, we are going to be back here next Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific. Topic unknown. We will figure that out. We did have a buddy of ours send us a whole list of new topics that we'll go through. But we've got plenty of material, so we're not worried about that.
I'm
But
still
please
holding
come
out
and
for the
join
top
us.
5 favorite cartoon characters of all time.
We're going to be doing that one soon.
Marty's all over that.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing the important topics like that. So please join us next week. Thank you, micdup. Thank you, Almanac.
Woohoo.
And thank you guys for joining us, especially you, Gail. We love you. All right. Play us out, Robbie.
Thank you, Almanac.
From Lowlifes. Highlights.
This is going to be like the end of Hoosiers.
What the who?
The end of Hoosiers? Remember the movie
Who?
Hoosiers?
Who?